When I turned 18, the thought of hosting a Halloween house party had me thrilled. My parents were heading out of town for the weekend, giving me the perfect opportunity to have a bash at our place. They left me with only 2 simple rules: no strangers, and the house had to be cleaner after the party than before. It seemed like a fair deal, so I agreed. Invites went out to around 50 friends, and as the day approached, the excitement built up. It was decided to be a closed invite event, meaning I explicitly told everyone not to bring any strangers. I wanted to keep things safe and comfortable for everyone, and my parents were very particular about that. As the big day rolled in, Halloween fell on a Saturday, making the party even more special. We began preparations to transform the house into a Halloween haven. Decorations were spread throughout the place, and my mom took her role as the decorator-in-chief very seriously. It was almost like she saw it as a competition with our neighbors, a way of ensuring our house became the most sought-after Halloween destination in the neighborhood. Since we lived on the corner of the street in a regular suburban neighborhood, the decorations needed to cover not only the front, but the side of the house too. So as the final touches went up, it was clear. Our house was Halloween ready. However, on the day itself, despite the early start to the party, the skies had their say with ominous clouds hanging heavy. The forecast had hinted at rain, and it wasn't long before those first drops began to fall. The party started around 6 p.m. We decided to divide the festivities between the backyard and the first floor, allowing guests to roam as they pleased. An older friend, who also happened to be a DJ, brought his equipment to keep the music going. By dusk, the party was in full swing. I was determined to stick to my word. No alcohol at the party. I was playing the responsible host, but it seemed that my friends had other plans. As the night wore on, people started to indulge, and the atmosphere was becoming merrier by the minute. With a majority of the guests being close friends and acquaintances, it appeared that the no strangers rule was being followed. Almost everyone I saw was a familiar face, and that gave me some peace of mind. However, as the night went on, things started to get a bit strange. A friend emerged from the house after grabbing some food and inquired about a guy in a skeleton bodysuit who had been inside the house. This struck me as odd since I hadn't seen anyone in such a costume. Concerned, I ventured inside, where a small group was hanging out in the kitchen. I asked if they had seen anyone wearing a skeleton bodysuit, and someone confirmed, saying, yeah, he seemed to be snooping around. A sense of unease crept in as I asked if anyone had invited him or knew who he was. To my surprise, no one knew him, and they couldn't figure out who had invited him. I decided to hunt for this mysterious guest, and after a thorough search, I found him. This man was slowly descending the stairs, clad in a skeleton bodysuit, a real-life Halloween ghoul. I asked him who he was, and he mumbled, "Mike, I was using the bathroom." His voice was deep, far deeper than that of any of my friends. He seemed older, and his physical build was stockier, not muscular, just bigger. "Who invited you?" I asked, but he simply replied, "Tom." Yet, I knew no one named Tom among my friends. Growing more concerned, I insisted that he take off his mask, but he paid no heed to my request. Instead, he walked past me and headed toward the front door, his silence amplifying the tension in the room. As he left, I knew something was wrong, and I tried to stay composed. I returned to the party, where I confided in a few of my friends about this unsettling incident. After inquiring with a few acquaintances, it became evident that no one had invited the skeleton guy. We couldn't figure out who he was or why he had come. Nonetheless, the party rolled on and began winding down as the clock struck midnight. A few of my closest friends stayed behind to help with the cleanup, and once the last guest had departed, we began restoring the house to its pre-party state. As I readied myself for bed, one of my friends, Vinny, decided to stay overnight, crashing on the living room couch. After a quick betim rowdini and changing into pajamas, I realized it would be nice to hang out with Vinny for a while, considering we both were night owls. We grabbed some drinks and enjoyed watching funny YouTube videos on the TV. My 14-year-old sister had already gone to bed earlier in the evening. She hadn't been outside with the partygoers, as she was too young. We made an effort to be quiet so as not to wake her. However, as the night wore on and the drinks flowed, we suddenly heard strange noises coming from above us. It was well past midnight, and the house should have been quiet. The sounds resembled However, as the night wore on and the drinks flowed, we suddenly heard strange noises coming from above us. It was well past midnight, and the house should have been quiet. The sounds resembled footsteps, as if someone was pacing above us. We were hoping that the footsteps would soon retreat to the bathroom or elsewhere, but as time passed, they didn't. Curiosity gave way to suspicion. I decided to venture upstairs, intending to check on my sister first, making sure she was okay. We weren't sure if she might be the source of the noises. I softly knocked on her door and received no response. When I cracked the door open to peek inside, I saw her sleeping soundly. So who or what was causing these mysterious sounds? While I was in the upstairs hallway, I noticed the attic door ajar. This was unusual since I had ensured it was securely closed before the party. I stared at the door, my heart racing with uncertainty. I tiptoed to my parents' room, determined to get to the bottom of this. The bedroom door was ajar too, and I could enter without twisting the doorknob. Strange, as it should have been locked. I surveyed the room in darkness without turning on the lights, and then I saw him. On the other side of the door, there he was, the guy in the skeleton bodysuit. There was no mistaking it. His presence in my parents' room was inexplicable, chilling, and horrifying. Instead of reacting with shock, I quietly withdrew from the room, slowly shutting the door. A rush of adrenaline surged through me as I returned to my friend, Vinny, downstairs. It was time to figure out how to handle the presence of an intruder in my house. We didn't want to startle or provoke this uninvited guest. My first move was to have Vinny call 911 while I retraced my steps back upstairs. I needed to check on my little sister once again and ensure her safety before we took any further action. Waking her gently, I whispered to her about the intruder. The courage she displayed in such a terrifying situation impressed me. We decided to stick together and make our way downstairs, outside, and to the neighbor's house. There we rang the bell repeatedly, seeking refuge and help. Our neighbor allowed us to wait with him while the police were on their way. Eventually, the intruder escaped through my parents' bedroom window, a daring and unexpected move. It was clear that this wasn't just some intoxicated party crasher. This was someone who knew the layout of the house, my parents' room, and even the presence of a safe. My little sister shared the horrifying story with our parents, and it was an incident that made them think twice about allowing me to host parties at our home. This Halloween house party had turned into a nightmarish experience, one I wouldn't forget.